Good evening, you're watching London Live News at 6 with Helena Warrior. Coming up tonight, the Metropolitan Police has said that more than 600 sexual and domestic abuse allegations against its own officers are being investigated by a specialist unit within the force, with allegations ranging from inappropriate behaviour to criminal offences. Sadiq Khan has hinted that the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone across all London boroughs may be halted, as he clashed with a Conservative Party member over the proposed plans. We'll have an update on London's weather in the next 10 minutes. Plus, stick around if you're a dog lover. London's biggest canine event returns to East London this weekend, and we'll be hearing more about our furry friends. And an amateur historian defies the academic establishment in her efforts to find King Richard III's remains. The new film telling the true story of the woman who found the bones of the monarch in a car park in Leicester has arrived in cinemas. First tonight, though, the Metropolitan Police has said that more than 600 sexual and domestic abuse allegations against its own officers are being investigated by a specialist unit within the force. The Domestic and Sexual Offences Unit, or DASO, as it's known, was set up at the start of this year to look into allegations ranging from inappropriate behaviour to criminal offences. Alleged victims include members of the public, but also other police officers. Well, London Live's James Dickman is here with more details. James, just tell us then, what more can you say about these allegations?
Well, yeah, they all come in to the unit, which, as you say, was created at the start of the year, in January to be specific, and it's looking into 625 misconduct allegations up to August the 18th this year, of course. It's a figure many might feel alarming, given there's around 34,000 officers in the Met, but it's also the first figure, and given that this is a new body, that seems willing to try and change a culture from within. Perhaps we'll see as the years go forward what this figure will represent in future looking into this. Detective Superintendent Annette Clark, who was DASO's senior leader, said it has a particular focus on understanding domestic abuse and sexual offences. As you say, alleged victims include members of the public and other police officers, with a significant number, interestingly, of these cases being examined by the unit involving domestic abuse between couples where both are serving in the police. The rape and murder of Sarah Everard in March 2021 by then serving Met Police officer Wayne Cousins, who pretended to be a plainclothes officer, of course, to manipulate Sarah, led to the force announcing it would conduct an urgent review of all allegations of sexual misconduct and domestic abuse against officers. Much overdue, many have argued. Something such a big news event like Sarah Everard shouldn't perhaps have needed to spark. Perhaps it should have come much earlier in any case. But anyway, in many ways, that event began to pull back the curtain on a lot of sinister goings on within the force. And the Met has been shaken by groups of officers found to have exchanged deeply offensive historic messages on social media, such as what was revealed in the Charing Cross branch earlier this year. And of course, the two officers who took photos of the dead bodies of Nicole Smallman and Bieber Henry at a crime scene and sharing them on WhatsApp with friends back in June 2020. Just two examples there of quite a few that have come out in the last few years that have really shone a light on some of the toxicity that exists within the Met that we haven't really seen up until the last couple of years. Well, it comes, as Sir Mark Rowley, the new commissioner, said, that during his tenure he would make sure people were removed from the force, announcing last week a new anti-corruption and abuse command force to root out criminal officers and work to identify and investigate those who are predatory and abuse their position of trust for their personal, financial or sexual advantage, whether on duty, off duty, online or in person. He, of course, in place because Sadiq Khan forced the resignation of Cressida Dick earlier in the year because he deemed her not fit to be able to root out these problems that exist in the Met. So, as I say, quite an alarming stat going back to those figures, 625, but it's the first set of figures in a force that seeks to root it out and reduce that to zero, maybe.
James, thank you very much. James Dickman there on the news that the Metropolitan Police said there are more than 600 sexual and domestic abuse allegations against its own officers. Now, Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng has said his total focus is on delivering the mini-budget in response to speculation about a U-turn on the measures following a market backlash. At the International Monetary Fund's annual meeting in Washington today, the Chancellor insisted that there were no plans for further changes to the package.
So what I'm totally focused on is on delivering on the mini-budget, making sure that we get growth back into our economy. And the fact that we're here, the fact that I'm in Washington, shows the nature of the challenge. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of officials, finance ministers, central bank governors, and they're all tackling the same questions. They're all looking to see what we can do as a global community to deal with inflation, what we can do to deal with rising interest rates across the globe, and particularly people are very focused on energy prices and the response that we gave in the mini-budget to the energy price guarantee, giving the energy price guarantee, is really widely appreciated.
Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng there. Now, the Mayor of London clashed with Conservative London Assembly member Neil Garrett today over whether the ultra-low emission zone expansion across Greater London would be postponed. At Mayor's question time, Sadiq Khan hinted that the plans to expand the £12.50 a day ULEZ across all 33 boroughs may be halted after controversy over the official consultation this summer, which has reportedly resulted in almost 2/3 of respondents opposing the expansion.
Since June, obviously cost of living pressures have grown. And so there are people out there, which you were speaking about earlier in response to a previous question about the cost of living, who are really struggling. They're under a lot of pressure. And for those families, as you refer to, who may be having to choose between heating and eating, additionally, some of those families are also thinking, if they get through their fuel bills this winter, by August, you're requiring them to find money for a new car. I mean, could you take that weight off their mind today and tell them that you're not going to go ahead with it in August?
Chair, the question's remarkable because of the answer of the last 8 minutes. So I've said, as indeed is the member, and not the way he thinks. But look,
sorry,
I've said,
could you actually answer my question?
So the question is, will I today rule out an expansion? Right? I spent the last 12 minutes
will you rule out an expansion in August? You have to listen carefully to the words.
I've explained that the consultation's ended. TfL are looking at the responses to the consultation. There'll be an analysis undertaken by an independent consultant, and a recommendation will come to me before the end of the year. So I'm now being asked, will I rule out the expansion taking place in August? The answer is I've not made up my mind until I've seen the report and the analysis done by TfL.
Sadiq Khan at Mayor's question time there. Now, a council in central London has seized more than £200,000 worth of counterfeit goods from American-themed sweet shops and souvenir shops along Oxford Street. Westminster City Council said fake designer watches and unsafe vapes, children's toys and power banks were among the items seized. Adam Hugg from the council said the authority are cracking down on dodgy sweet shops which leave a sour taste in the mouth for people who go in them. It comes as the council unveils multi-million-pound regeneration plans for the famous shopping street, which is hoping to attract high-value retailers. Environmental protesters blocked a major roundabout in central London this morning in a 13th day of action as they call on the government to halt its consent for all new oil and gas licences. About 25 activists from the group Just Stop Oil blocked traffic at St George's Circus near London's Waterloo Station and Elephant and Castle, with some gluing themselves to the tarmac. Well, police could be seen arresting the protesters, with one spokesperson for the group saying he understood the frustration of motorists, but adding the group are highlighting a very serious problem. Now, William and Kate visited a former London 2012 venue to celebrate the 10th anniversary of a sports charity. The Prince and Princess of Wales travelled to the Copper Box Arena in the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in East London to take part in an event with the charity Coach Corps. The charity aims to create the next generation of inspirational sports coaches. Well, while there, the royal couple met six-time Olympic medalist and charity ambassador Max Whitlock, as well as the young people with whom the charity works. Okay, it's time now to take a look at London's weather for you. This evening, temperatures just staying in the double digits at 10 degrees overnight. Tomorrow, it's cloudy all day with a chance of showers in the early afternoon. Looking ahead to the weekend, Saturday is more of the same, dry and cloudy all day with highs of around 17. On Sunday, however, it could get wetter, light rain showers and more cloud forecast for the end of the weekend. Well, just before the break, let's bring you this. 72 people have received honours at Buckingham Palace today, including London-born actress Dame Vanessa Redgrave and Conservative former Minister Dame Andrea Leadsom. Also honoured were Royal Protection Officer Sergeant Emma Probert, who has guarded the Princess of Wales, and Royal Household Chef Mark Flanagan, who oversaw the dishes served at Harry and Meghan's wedding reception. Well, Dame Andrea Leadsom, who was given her honour by the Prince of Wales at Buckingham Palace for services to politics, said receiving her damehood is her greatest honour. All right, it's time for a short break now, but when we come back, we'll be looking at the stories making headlines in the local papers this week with our reviewer Matt Withers, including an East London borough that's been named one of the coolest neighbourhoods in the world.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Welcome back to London Live News. It's time now for a look at the stories making headlines in the local papers this week. Our paper reviewer Matt Withers joined me earlier. We started with businesses saying they were left high and dry by a mystery internet bug.
Yeah, this is in the Ham and High, and it's quite serious for a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises involved. These are businesses across North London, so they lost custom after this bug left potential customers unable to access their websites for literally weeks. So any of these companies whose sites were hosted by the internet firms Wix, Lyrical and BigCommerce, if anybody who was using their Wi-Fi through Virgin Media was trying to get to these companies, they couldn't access their websites. And for these companies, that's very, very serious, because apparently 24% of people in the UK use Wi-Fi from Virgin Media, so they couldn't get onto these companies' websites. And there's a lot of debate over who is responsible. Wix claim the problems with Virgin Media. They don't accept responsibility. But for the companies involved, it's a big problem. Joe Wellings from the Pleasing Dance School of Ballet in Kentish Town said it looks bad when someone goes to look at your website and it doesn't exist. They think you haven't paid your bill or the business has closed down. And some of these businesses are now coming together to consider legal action to recoup their losses, which are going to be quite big. Somebody else here, a massage therapist from Wood Green, Joe Giles, said if you're on Wix, you're unlikely to be a big company. It's very much small businesses, freelancers and independent traders that are affected. And this went on for about 4 weeks.
4 weeks. OK, that is a long time. So was it Wix? Was it Virgin Media? Has anyone said anything in response?
Yeah, basically nobody's taken responsibility. So Virgin Media said that they were pleased that they'd found the workaround to the issue, which meant some customers in London could not access certain websites. It wouldn't comment on the cause, but said that it was not to blame. Wix, Lyrical and BigCommerce were approached for comment, but didn't comment to the Ham and High. But Wix did say to one of the customers that it was Virgin Media's problem. So if this does come to court, probably the big issue which the lawyers will find themselves tangled down is who exactly was responsible. But none of that will make a great deal of difference to these companies who've lost an awful lot of money over the past month.
Absolutely. Well, we'll keep an eye on that to see if indeed it does go further. Let's move on to our second story now. A Conservative councillor in South East London has been suspended. Just tell us why.
Yeah, it's been, a couple of weeks since we did a story about a local councillor who's got into trouble over posting something stupid on social media. This one's from the South London Press. It's a Tory councillor in Bexley who posted what the South London Press described as a spiteful tweet about Nadine Zaghari Ratcliffe, the freed prisoner in Iran. He's now been suspended by his party and had to stand down as chairman of governors at his local school. This is Councillor John Davey, who we'll find has courted controversy before with some of his ill-thought-through social media posts. He responded to a tweet where somebody accused Nazanin of playing politics on her return. He said, "Can we ask for a refund? We can send her back as she's so ungrateful." This refers to the fact that the UK government is believed to have paid some of her historic debt to Iran in return for her coming back. That tweet's since been deleted and the account's been taken down altogether. But the Tory local party chairman, Aaron Newbury, has announced his suspension from the party. He said, "We've passed this on to the CCHQ, which is the Conservative Campaign HQ complaints team, for further action." But it's not the first time that this councillor for the West Heath ward has got himself in trouble. In June 2020, he responded to an action plan to tackle racism in the borough proposed by a Labour councillor as, quotes, "a load of old rubbish," and then went on to say further quite unpleasant stuff that we probably don't need to get into here. But yeah, he's got a bit of history here, and now he's found himself suspended.
Well, yeah, I mean, quite a shocking thing, some might say, to say about Nazanin, who has endured a great deal in Iran. Does it say what happens now it goes through the complaints process?
Well, it will go through, there will be two elements to this. This is purely from my background of having covered many of these stories before. There will be a local one, he's suspended. They will have to take a view on whether he's brought the local party into so much disrepute that he'll be booted out. But that will probably work at the same time as something on a national level where they will decide whether he's brought the national party into disrepute. Either way, it would seem, to me, a fairly cut-and-shut case.
Absolutely. Right, well, let's move on to happier matters. Now, I live in East London, so I fully agree with this, but one area of East London in particular has been named one of the coolest in the world.
Yes, this is on the My London website. They say it's official. I mean, it's not, because these things are entirely subjective. But Walthamstow's been named one of the coolest neighbourhoods in the entire world. Was the only part of London to make the list. This is a survey carried out by Time Out, the erstwhile magazine, now website, which has listed the 51 chicest neighbourhoods from the best cities in the world, and Walthamstow has clocked in at 17th place. The top three were Caister Sodre in Lisbon and Watbo Village in Siem Reap. But yes, that is the top one in London, and Time Out London's editor Joe Makatish said, if you're from London, Walthamstow has a bit of a rep. It's where all your friends moved 5 years ago, the place with more prams than people, where the streets are awash with hoppy IPAs, sourdough pizza and obnoxiously expensive houseplants. So it is subjective to whether you think hip is a good thing or not. He seems to be casting some doubt on it there, actually, with his description.
Well, aside from that description, what kind of iconic attractions then in Walthamstow meant it made the list, do we think?
Well, here they mention the William Morris Gallery and the Vestry House Museum, but there's also a lot of places to eat and drink. The Black Horse Beer Mile, which is full of pizzas and breweries, and I have to say I'm personally a very big fan of. And then Mother's Ruin, which is a local gin maker, and then God's Own Junkyard, which people may know is a kind of warehouse full of neon signs from all over the world, which attracts a lot of people at weekends. So, a lot going on there.
Well, you know, at least somewhere in the capital made the list, we can say. Now, finally, it was World Mental Health Day earlier this week, and we saw a lot of ideas on how to improve our mental health. This method is quite unique, though.
Yes, I would say. This is from the East London Advertiser, and this is an artist from Bow who spent 2 quite gruelling weeks hiding through Mongolia in order to, well, dress up as a pink bear for a series of photographs. This is a guy called Paul Robinson. He photographs a human-sized pink bear suit in extreme and remote locations, which he said has helped him overcome his depression. This one took place from September the 6th to the 20th, although you can see the pictures now. He hiked through the Altai region, had to go on 8-hour horse rides in temperatures of -15 degrees. He said it was his most adventurous run to date, and he had to go to quite extreme lengths to get his photography. But it's part of his I Used to Be a Polar Bear series, which play on the idea of the pink bear as a climate refugee.
And how did this idea come to him then?
Well, he said that he was suffering from depression quite badly and started doing cognitive behavioural therapy, and he come to the idea of using this pink bear suit. It came from a childhood memory of himself and his parents and brother at a theme park where he presumably saw this pink bear. He got this costume made, and now he just kind of plonks it in these isolated settings and takes pictures of it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the old Trigger Happy TV series where, you know, they'd have these big figures and just see how people reacted to them. But they're actually really beautiful pictures. I'd recommend people check them out.
There we are, our paper reviewer, Matt Withers there. Now, with schools still using online platforms for education since the pandemic, some low-income households are getting left behind as they can't afford laptops or tablets for homework. Well, Smart Cellular, a technology refurb service, is calling for the government to partner up with tech companies and solve this problem. Well, earlier I spoke to the founder, Yasmin Ahmed, who also noted the environmental benefits of refurbed tech.
When COVID happened and everyone went on to remote learning, also people started working from home, we were contacted by schools, universities and parents that needed devices urgently to be able to do work, to be able to do education, homework. We at Smart Cellular, what we did was we did competitions, and we donated a lot of iPads, as many as we could that year, and we still do. But what we've still found is, after doing a lot of research, is that everyone's going onto the e-learning system. We're all going onto the e-learning system, but not all houses have the exact amount of devices. So I'll give you an example, like you could have maybe 2 children or 3 children at home, but they've only got 1 device. So how do you share doing the homework? You can't. What we're asking the government to do is basically ensure that all children and all adults have the device and have the technology that they need to be able to do their schoolworks, their homeworks, and to be able to stay current, because everything is going on the internet. And they should be able to make it in a way where it's given to the parents or the students, or some kind of funding is done for the person who's learning to be able to go and get those items. And this company like ourselves, they can get refurbished, they can buy second-hand, they can buy brand new, but they need to ensure everyone has a device.
Absolutely. Well, you know, there's also another benefit to refurbished tech that you've mentioned, and that's for the environment. Just tell us what impact this kind of electrical waste has on the environment.
So currently in the UK, around about 133,000 tonnes of electrical waste per month. And it's estimated only 15% of the population in development countries actually recycle. After research that we've all done in our industry, what we've seen is 80% of electrical goods can be recycled. It can be used again. And also things like washing machines, things like fridges and things like that. What you can do is you're recycling, but you can also make money from it. We call it renewable cash. And like I said, there's other electrical items at home. They can all get recycled. As opposed to let's not waste it and just dump it. Let's recycle it. Let's make some money while helping the planet at the same time.
There we go, Yasmin Ahmed from Smart Cellular there. You're watching London Live News with Helena Warrior. A reminder of our top story coming up after the break. Plus, if you're a dog lover, you're in luck. London's biggest canine event returns to East London this weekend. We'll be hearing more about the Discover Dogs event.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Welcome back to London Live News. A reminder of our top story. The Metropolitan Police has said that more than 600 sexual and domestic abuse allegations against its own officers are being investigated by a specialist unit within the force. The Domestic and Sexual Offences Unit was set up at the start of this year and as of August is looking into 625 misconduct allegations, ranging from inappropriate behaviour to criminal offences. Alleged victims include members of the public, but also other police officers. The investigating team was said to be established to restore public trust in the force following a number of scandals, including the murder of Sarah Everard by a serving officer in South London in March last year, and groups of officers found to have exchanged offensive messages on social media. The leader of the unit, Detective Superintendent Annette Clark, said her team is disgusted by the behaviour of the officers in question and reiterated the need to get rid of them. Now, Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng has said his total focus is on delivering the mini-budget in response to speculation about a U-turn on the measures following a market backlash. At the International Monetary Fund's annual meeting in Washington today, the Chancellor insisted that there were no plans for further changes to the package.
So what I'm totally focused on is on delivering on the mini-budget, making sure that we get growth back into our economy. And the fact that we're here, the fact that I'm in Washington, shows the nature of the challenge. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of officials, finance ministers, central bank governors, and they're all tackling the same questions. They're all looking to see what we can do as a global community to deal with inflation, what we can do to deal with rising interest rates across the globe, and particularly people are very focused on energy prices.
The Heathrow Express train is offering to fast-track travellers through airport security in a bid to keep passengers using their service, as Elizabeth Line trains will start to run directly from Canary Wharf and the West End to the airport from next month. Although the Elizabeth Line trains will take twice as long, the fare will be just over half the price of a £25 single ticket on the Heathrow Express. However, the Heathrow Express said those who upgrade to a £32 first-class single ticket on the train will be able to gain free rapid fast-track transit through the airport, applying to all first-class passengers, even if they are flying economy. It comes as the Heathrow Express will celebrate its 25th anniversary next year. Now, London's biggest canine event is returning to the XL Centre this weekend. Discover Dogs brings over 200 breeds of dog together under one roof, with prospective pet owners encouraged to discover which breed they should buy. Well, we caught up with the Kennel Club's breeder expert, Bill Lambert, who gave us his top tips and told us more about the event.
We have around about 200 different breeds of dog at Discover Dogs, and the whole purpose of Discover Dogs is to really showcase dogs so that people can come and see them, come and meet them, come and speak to the experts in those breeds and in every aspect of dog ownership, with fundamentally the idea that people choose the right dog for them. It gives everybody the opportunity to look at every single breed that's out there and really understand the breeds, because we know that far too many people buy a dog simply because of the way it looks, without really knowing about the personality, the characteristics, and what makes those dogs special. And the great thing about dogs is there's so many different types and variation of dogs. There really is a dog out there for everybody's different lifestyle, but it's makes it important that people make those really important choices and do their research before they purchase a puppy. Obviously, dogs have different requirements, and there's some obvious things, of course. Big dogs are going to eat more food. Small dogs are going to eat less. Some breeds need a lot of exercise, some don't. And I'll give you a couple of odd examples. Greyhounds, we see lots of greyhounds, that particularly through the rescue sector, lots of greyhounds out there. And people immediately think that greyhounds must need a lot of exercise. Actually, they don't. They use short bursts of exercise, and they're actually quite happy to hang on your sofa. So that's why it's not a good idea to just look at the way a dog looks and say, okay, I can guess that dog needs this sort of attention. It's really important to speak to the experts and really do the research into those breeds to find out what makes them special. Of course, dogs are bred for very different purposes. Take the Labrador, for example. Labrador Retriever was obviously designed to retrieve things. Now, they're not going to do a normal retrieval. They're not going to be retrieving game or anything in a normal setting. But, of course, they will retrieve balls, and they get great pleasure from retrieving. So there's lots of characteristics that the dogs were bred for that actually fit into our normal lives. We've seen a huge increase in the pet population during the pandemic, and it is our concern that people have bought a puppy. Obviously, right at the beginning of the pandemic, we were all in lockdown, and buying a dog seemed a great idea. It was an excuse for people to go out for walks, and of course people were locked up in their own homes. What a better time to have a dog. But of course, as people's lives return back to normal, we are now seeing what we feared, which is an increase of people relinquishing their dogs. And I think in many cases, it is a case that people made a very quick decision. They went to choose a dog and went to get the first dog that was available without doing their research, and they found that the dog doesn't actually fit into their lifestyle. The other thing that's happened during the pandemic, there's been very little access to dog training and dog behaviourists, so that people who had problems have had nowhere to turn to. And now we're seeing the repercussions of that, which is really unfortunate. So it really does go back to people really finding out about the breed they want, really thinking about it long and hard. We know from our own research that people often spend more time in choosing what pair of shoes to wear than they do about the breed of dog that's right for them. And of course, that's completely wrong. One of the most important things is veterinary treatment. There is so much veterinary treatments and options out there now that if your dog does get ill, these can lead into many thousands of pounds of expense. So one of the things we would always recommend is to get pet insurance, get dog insurance when you buy your dog, and that will protect you. If you get a good policy, that will protect the dog throughout its life and from those unexpected things that can happen. An interesting and fairly topical point at the moment is, of course, the death of the Queen, which the Queen was a really big supporter of dogs, of course, and it was largely due to her that made the Corgi a very popular dog, certainly around the time when her children were born, when Anne and King Charles were born. They were pictured a lot in the press with the Corgis, and it was really the Queen that popularised the breed. As other factors as the Queen was pictured less in the media with, and the breed fell into decline, and actually the Corgi went onto our vulnerable breed list. And yet we saw over the last couple of years, certainly since the Queen's Jubilee and the dogs became more prominent, our registrations went up. So we can see a huge correlation between the amount of time that dogs spend in the media and the popularity of the breeds as a whole. We're delighted to be back at the Excel Centre. It's 15th and 16th of October. We've got some great things on. There's obviously the opportunity to see all the breeds of dogs, but there's some fantastic things for people to do. One of the most popular things that we have is our Cuddle Corner, which is the opportunity for people, particularly children, to cuddle down with their favourite dogs. But they sometimes don't get the opportunity to do so, particularly if they're living in London and don't have access to dogs. So that's one of our popular features, which is back now. Thankfully, coronavirus has receded a little bit, and we weren't able to run the show the year before last. So we're glad to be back with that. But also this year we have something really exciting, which is our Wolfball World Cup, a tribute to the World Cup. Of course, we have dogs actually playing football, so that's something we're new to Discover Dogs, and we're really looking forward to. I'm sure it's going to be really exciting.
Lovely stuff. That's Discover Dogs, which is on at the Excel Centre on Saturday and Sunday. Time for a final break now, but when we come back...
I don't think we should see each other anymore.
What? I was just about to say that. I was literally leading up to that.
Well, it's obviously not...
Making its debut on Channel 4 tonight, we've been speaking to the star of the new quirky sitcom, I Hate You. See you shortly.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather. And know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather. And know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather. And know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Welcome back to the final part of London Live News. Now, making its debut on Channel 4 tonight is a new quirky sitcom centred on two flatmates as they get wrapped up in the wild and unpredictable drama of each other's lives. Created by Robert Popper, who's known for his hit show Friday Night Dinner, I Hate You follows the tale of Charlie and Becca, alongside many more eccentric side characters, as they battle with a stark contrast between their personalities. Well, Paul's been speaking to Melissa Saint, who plays Becca, ahead of the show's TV launch.
I don't think we should see each other anymore.
What? I was just about to say that. I was literally leading up to that.
Well, it's obviously not going to work out if you're just going to have a cage for a mind.
A cage? What's that about a cage?
Her mind's a cage.
Do that.
Should it make that noise?
Oh, yeah, it's just the little people drilling for cheese. Are you gonna go? I'm eating a tomato. Anyone want a tomato?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
The show is just really about two friends and their totally messy friendship, and it's just about them. They're in their 20s, and it's just about them kind of like living their lives and the nonsense that they sort of get up to on a daily basis.
And your character Becca, what is she like? What's her role in this friendship?
Becca is definitely like the naughtier friend. She's kind of, I always say that she's really filterless and she just says what she wants. She wants to do whatever she wants to do. And poor Charlie's always kind of like worrying about things. I feel like Charlie's a lot more sensible than Becca. And Becca doesn't really think things through. She really gets herself into like some situations and she kind of sometimes doesn't really care about it. But that's what's makes her really, really fun to watch, I think, and also really fun to play. I think there are lots of moments with Becca, actually. She just does some really silly things, which I, in terms of how it comes across, I think is just, you kind of go, you just have to shake your head at her. But I think there's this particular moment which involves a fly, two particular moments which involve flies in the show, that are just kind of hilarious and also ridiculous as you're sat there thinking, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, but is she actually going to do that? And obviously she does it.
I wonder if she knows there's a massive fly on her head. Look at it. It's just sitting there. Maybe I should say something. Whoa, no way, Becca. You are not telling that trained killer there's a massive fly on her head. Although, maybe if I just...
Excuse me.
Ah! What the hell do you think you're doing? It's still there.
How's your chemistry off camera with your co-star Tanya Reynolds, who plays Charlie? Surely that's got to be, really tight for this kind of programme to work.
Yeah. So actually, Tanya and I are really good friends. We're actually really close now, off the back of the show. We didn't actually know each other prior to shooting, but when we got on, so we did like a taster back in March of 2021, and everyone thought that we'd known each other for ages, and we were like, we literally met like last week. So we instantly kind of just hit it off, and I absolutely love Tanya. She's amazing. We get along really well, which is really special and also obviously really necessary in terms of like these two friends being super close. I think it lends itself really well to Becca and Charlie's friendship, so it makes it a lot easier to work, like, the chemistry and just the two characters, really.
What did you think of the plot and the scripts when you were reading them through for the first time in rehearsals?
Oh man, honestly, I think there have been so many moments where I've just been like, what? And I've just said to Robert, how do you come up with this? This is insane. Like, where did you get this? Where did you get this idea from? Like, what's going on in your mind for you to come up with this? And Robert's honestly amazing. And I kind of always, I'm like, you're such a big kid. He's got like big kid energy, or like just kid energy, which is really nice. And it's kind of refreshing the way that, like, I think sometimes the way he thinks and the ideas that he comes up with, I think as we get older and we kind of become like locked in, and we're kind of like, oh, we're adults, we need to be really sensible and think about this, that and the other. But like Robert's got these really wacky and bonkers sort of just ideas which are like limitless, and it's really nice to sort of be a part of and to discover whilst you're reading like his work.
Oh, who is the one person you'd most like to see right this second? What?
Hey, Charlie.
Oh God, hi Bradley. Hi brothers. I hope the tummy's doing better. I'm sure Charlie would love to hear all about it.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Getting the bus then.
Yeah, definitely. My tummy's still really dodgy.
Right.
It's been happening quite a lot lately. The doctor said it's probably just from having poor personal hygiene.
Poor personal hygiene.
Yeah, like not washing my hands after I use the loo, etc.
Oh, God.
Basically, I'm just constantly reinfecting myself with my own germs. Fancy going out tonight? I'll wash my hands.
Oh, where is that bus?
There we go, and you can watch I Hate You on Channel 4, starting weekly from tonight or in full on all 4. Now, a new comedy drama from the duo that made Philomena has arrived at London cinemas, following the true story of the woman who discovered the bones of King Richard III in a car park in Leicester. Written by Steve Coogan and Jeff Pope, it also stars Coogan as the husband of Philippa Langley, who, after becoming obsessed with the monarch, ended up leading the famous exhumation that grabbed headlines around the world.
I know I can find him.
Who?
Richard.
Richard who?
Sorry, the third.
The king?
Yes.
Playing a dead king was fantastic. I mean, because I get to play a few different roles in a way. I get to play this actor, I get to play the Shakespearean Richard III, then I get to play this ghost stroke imaginary friend. So I love doing all the research about Richard and kind of fell in love with him. But actually what I'd spent the most time doing in the end was doing a research into kind of imaginary friends and what they're for and what your body... what you need when your body creates something for you. And I kind of felt that I was just the thing that Philippa needed for each scene to get her to the next stage of this discovery. So I got very interested in the psychology of imaginary friends in the end. I saw this really interesting thing. There's often, there are kids, when you look at the way that children do it, they're the ones that create an imaginary friend who is lower in status to them, or the same status, or a higher status. And it depends on what they do they need to look down on someone, or do they need to look up at someone? And for Philippa, I felt actually it was just someone who needed to see her. And I think that he just recognized how amazing she was. And I think the story, from my point of view, was this woman who discovered this incredible thing and let the world know the man behind the propaganda. But actually what she had to discover was how amazing she was. And I think my character helps her do that. One of the sweetest things actually is that me and Sally ended up kind of writing to each other quite a lot. In the first scene, actually, I hadn't really talked to her much before we started shooting, and I'd written this poem, actually, from Richard to Philippa, which I kind of sneaked to her via a crew member, and then she wrote back another note, and so we were kind of almost like sending notes in class, because we had this kind of secret kind of friendship. So throughout the shoot, we would kind of pass each other notes, and before a scene, I would read it. That was one of the really special things about it.
What drew to the story was the idea that someone who was not a professional managed to do something using a combination of her instincts and proper grown-up research, and established where she thought the king was. She sought permission from Leicester City Council and to mount the dig, and partly she had an instinct about it. And the fact that the king was found exactly where she said it would be is just too good a story to pass up. But it's also a story about her following her dream and following her instincts, and also a focus for her life. It became an obsession, and she's an eccentric too. And I think it's important that we celebrate eccentricity in our world. So really, all Jeff and I did was articulate her story and bring some entertainment to the table with it, because we wanted it to be an entertaining story as well as an inspirational story.
All the information I need to find him, well, it's all out there. But I don't think anybody's brought it all together before.
If your research is accurate,
He's now right in the middle of a car park.
You tell me what that letter represents.
Just means reserved.
Of course.
There we go. The Lost King is in cinemas now. Well, there's just time for a final check on the weather now. This evening, temperatures just staying in the double digits at 10 degrees overnight. Tomorrow, it's cloudy all day with a chance of showers in the early afternoon. Looking ahead to the weekend, Saturday is more of the same. Dry and cloudy all day with highs of around 17. On Sunday, however, it could get wetter, light rain showers and more cloud forecast for the end of the weekend. Well, that's all for this evening, and you can follow us on social media at London Live. For now, have a lovely evening, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m.